In fall 2025, I returned to university. I transferred to a new university, and this was a significant chapter in my life because I had been out of school for 4 years. I had last been in school in fall 2021. What took me out of school was a medical episode. I have bipolar disorder type 1. I did not know that I had this diagnosis at the time. And so, over the course of that fall semester, my health just spiraled out of control. I started experiencing all kinds of delusions and hallucinations as a result of my manic episode. And it was just a time of trials. It was a true test. And the fact that I survived that, I'm immensely grateful. I was out of school for 4 years after this because, well, it took me years to come to terms with what had transpired. It took me years to regain the stability that I had felt prior to experiencing the symptoms of this illness. It took me years to, once I have that stability, to feel confident in myself again and understand that people with bipolar disorder could still achieve amazing things. So I returned in fall 2025, and things didn't go perfectly. In fact, I only ended up finishing two of my courses that semester. I withdrew from the rest of my courses. So I did get credit for two classes. I was able to salvage some of the semester. But it was a tough time, and I learned a lot about what I could have done differently. I ended up skipping in the spring. I didn't take any classes in spring 2026 so that I could recuperate, so that I could focus on myself, getting stable once more, and to better prepare myself for a return to school. And that brings me to now. I'm back in school once again, and I gotta say, things are going a lot better than they did the last time I returned. So I'm gonna talk about the lessons I learned from returning in the fall and my lessons that I'm learning now as I take my summer classes. So here's the deal. For anyone who is returning to school after a mental health episode, I feel you. I know what it's like to be there, and I want you to know you're absolutely not alone here. I know how you can feel like you're in complete alienation, alienated from the rest of the world because of the ordeal that you went through. The ordeal that you endured is not one that many people could. But I want you to know that you can go back. Whether your episode took you out of the workforce or took you out of school, you can go back. And you can do just as well as you've done before. You can do better than you've done before. And I'm going to tell you how to maximize your odds of doing so. One of the things I wish I had done a little more of before returning in the fall is addressing my academic rust. I want you to address your academic rust before the school year starts. What is academic rust? Academic rust, when I say that, I'm referring to the skill decay that you will experience in your academic abilities after being out of school for a prolonged period of time. I feel like it's probably very common for people to experience this. Just like with anything else in life, if you don't practice, repetition is the key to mastery. If you don't practice, you experience the forgetting curve. You forget how to do certain things a certain way. And it takes reinforcement and repetition in order to instill those abilities into yourself once again. I don't believe our abilities are ever truly lost when it comes to academics, but it does decay. It reaches a floor, it reaches a ceiling, and so forth. Another thing you can do to address your academic rust, in addition to thinking about it the way that I've just laid it out, which I do think is important, is doing activities that will stimulate your mind. So, reading every single day for a set block of time, journaling or doing some form of writing every single day. These are activities that don't have to consume a large portion of your day. Doing them even in incremental amounts could still make a monumental difference. So for myself, leading up to the summer semester, one thing that I really locked in on was doing about 30 minutes of reading per day. And sometimes my sessions would go longer than that, but I tended to hit my 30 minutes each day just to prepare myself for the kind of material I would encounter in my course. And that was important because right now in my summer course, I'm assigned about 10 to 15 readings and videos per week. That requires focus, it requires diligence and commitment and applying myself. And so by reading consistently prior to the start of your school semester, you're putting yourself back in that position. That way you're not just getting your feet wet right when the semester starts. You've already gotten your feet wet and built up somewhat of a foundation to carry you forward, and I think that's vital. You can also do writing. And I prefer to do journaling because I think it's a great way to foment your creativity and apply your creativity in addition to just practicing the kind of verbal reasoning that's necessary to excel when you write up anything. So I would do journal entries, and I didn't even do those every day. I would do one maybe once a week, and I feel like that was enough to bring back my writing abilities. I've always been a talented writer, and as my English teacher from high school would say, Mrs. Hensel, the best writers are readers, and I do read a lot. So these things are intertwined, they go hand in hand. Another piece of advice I would give for those who are returning to school after a mental health break is to ease into your course load. And the reason you want to do this is build momentum. So what do I mean by ease into your course load? Rather than do what I did in fall 2025 and go right into full-time, I actually did above full-time. I was at 15 credits at the start, ended up only finishing taking 6. Don't overwhelm yourself. You've been gone for a while. You encountered a serious medical episode, a mental health episode, and you do have academic rust, and there's not any way you're going to go back and just feel normal right away. It's going to feel strange for a while. So by easing into your course load, like what I'm doing, I'm taking 3 summer classes before the fall even starts. And to ease it even more, I'm doing them online. I'm not even doing them in person. In the fall, I'm easing myself further by taking a full-time load, 4 classes, so 1 more than I'm doing presently. However, I'll be in a much better position by then because of the momentum I built. So right now, for half a summer, I'm doing 1 course. The other half of summer, I'm doing 2, for instance. I'm doing 1 now, 2 in the other half of summer, and that's building momentum. And then I'm going to the 3 altogether I take in their summer to taking 4 in the fall of 2026. And in doing so, I think that it will more adequately prepare me for what's to come. I think by easing your way in, you have less of a chance of overwhelming yourself. You bolster your abilities. You fight a lot of that academic rust. So it's just positive and beneficial in so many different ways. Once you are back and you're in school, do not compare yourself to other students. This was a tough one for me because as I was returning to school, I had friends of mine who were already graduated. I had friends of mine who were years into their careers. I had friends who had started families by this point, friends who have gotten married, friends who have purchased their first home. So it's easy to feel behind. It's so easy to compare myself to others, but it only puts me in a negative mindset. There's never a beneficial experience thinking about yourself relative to others. Instead of focusing on what others have done and did and are doing, focus on what you're doing now and what you're going to achieve as a result of doing what you're doing now. Think about how you can improve yourself. Think about where you are now compared to where you've been, where you can be compared to where you are now and where you've been, and so forth. I think this line of thinking is a lot more positive and a lot more healthy, and by being rational, I think that you're increasing your odds of having a successful semester. So don't fall into the comparison game. I would highly advise you not to do that. It's okay to be competitive, but have that competition be with yourself. Let's say you get a couple A's and a couple A minuses, and then next semester you're going to aim to get all A's, right? It's all about finding ways to improve yourself relative to your past self. Make sure that you celebrate your small wins. Every win is a win, regardless of what anyone or anybody tries to tell you. When you get your first assignment back and you get a grade, celebrate that win. When you submit your first paper, an essay that you poured hours into brainstorming, researching, pre-writing, drafting, polishing, submitting, celebrate that small win. After you've completed your first test or quiz or whatever is kind of timed assessment, celebrate that small win. Celebrate your first A. Celebrate your first 100. Celebrate your first final grade in a course. There's so many things that you can give yourself credit for. Don't be hard on yourself. Make sure you're giving yourself credit for the amazing things that you are doing, because what you are doing is incredible. You have struggles that you've had to endure, that other people, it would be unfathomable to them. It's incomprehensible. Understand how you've distinguished yourself by surviving something like a medical episode, a mental health episode. And give yourself credit for that. And give yourself credit for your achievements and milestones to come. Small wins add up to become big wins. Lastly, and this one might be the most obvious of all, but it's important, and that's why I saved it for last. I do think that this is the most important thing, and that is to take care of your mental health at all times. There's different elements to taking care of one's mental health. There's getting a positive night's sleep. I've talked about in past videos how chronic sleep deprivation was a major contributing factor to me entering mania. I still believe that to this day. I ardently adhere to that idea. I believe it's substantiated by my experience, and that's that. But take care of your sleep. Do not sleep. Don't cut me off yet. Listen. Do not sleep on the importance of sleep, because it is mighty important. Another way you take care of your mental being, of course, is like exercise. And this is another one that's easier said than done. I totally get it. Right now, I'm probably doing about 7,000 steps a day. I've in fact stopped weighing myself because I was being too hard on myself about what the scale said. And so right now I'm exercising solely for the mental health benefits. And if I do lose weight in the process, fantastic. If not, at least I'm getting the mental health benefits. That's the perspective I've carried forward on this particular idea. And I really think that exercising is just so beneficial in a myriad of ways. I had someone tell me once that if the effects of exercise could be prescribed in a bottle, it would be the most effective antidepressant in the world. Now, I'm not a medical professional. I cannot attest to that being true, but I can tell you, I've shared that statement that this person opined. I can't remember exactly who said it, but I've shared the statement that was made with actual medical professionals, multiple psychiatrists I had, therapists I've had, and they all really liked the quote and agree to it to an extent. So remember that. If the effects of exercise could be prescribed in a bottle, it would be the most effective antidepressant in the world. Exercise is a medication. Sleep is a type of medication. They're all important in a treatment plan. But you know what's important in a treatment plan as well is, well, medication. Taking medication consistently and correctly is imperative to maintaining the stability that we've worked so hard to build. And I recognize this, and I understand this trend, this pattern, this urge that some people have when they feel good. They think, well, I don't need the medications anymore. And then that's when they start to go on a downward spiral and get back to a lower functioning self and a more debilitating mental state because they think they don't need the medications anymore. Remember that it's the medications and your diligence and commitment and strength and resilience that have culminated in you feeling better and being stable. So don't lose sight of that. I hope you took some value from these 5 pieces of advice that I shared in this video. And just to quickly recap, those were to address your academic rust, ease into your course load to build momentum. Don't compare yourself to other students. Compare yourself to your past self in terms of improvement. Celebrate small wins, celebrate every win, because small wins add up to become large wins. And then finally, take care of your mental health with good sleep, with good exercises, and adhering to the treatment plan that you and your medical provider have devised. Thank you all so much for watching. If you found this helpful in any way, please hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate every one of you who stayed for the course of this video. It means the world to me. Love, light, and tranquility to all. This was Tyler Adolfo, y'all.